Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Jan Hater Podcast.
Yes, welcome back. How you feeling?
I am good, man. How about yourself?
I'm good.
Oh yeah, you
Better.
Hey. Hey man, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. It's been a really strange and long week, right?
Oh my God.
Like, we only gonna loosely talk about it, right? Let's talk about the shooting in Buffalo, right?
Okay.
Like, with the shooting and
that's the grocery store.
With the
right?
grocery store,
Yeah.
Correct. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I know we kind of jumping straight into the meat, right? Like, but it's been kind of concerning that it's been difficult to want to go out because you just never know.
You
just don't know, like, if what somebody got on their heart, right?
Yeah.
So what made me really want to kind of bring that up was to say, I think it's time, because a lot of questions that we have or people have for us is how to find a therapist or how to find the right therapist.
Or like how to get started.
How to get started.
Okay.
So I thought that would be a good place for us to start today is, not necessarily talk about the shooting in itself, but if you feel like that you have an issue with probably going out in the public or just having, issues with anything that's going on around you, with society or whatever, that it may be time to talk to somebody. Let's help you find somebody.
Right. So I think it would be good for us to kind of build in like our personal experiences as far as finding therapists.
Correct.
Because we both have our own therapists. So I guess the first thing you have to think about when it comes to finding a therapist is what kind of therapist are you looking for?
Yeah.
Like me, for example, personally, I wanted a black female, a black woman who was somewhat around my age, who could kind of help me with things that are going on today versus kind of how I grew up, and then also just the changing of life in general. And just as a black woman, I needed someone with the same similarities as far as to kind of be able to help me navigate through life. So that's kind of why I chose my therapist.
Right. I mean,
although she wasn't my first.
Right. So. I guess for me, like, I needed somebody to kind of challenge my way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like I had like mental barriers like about certain things when it came to aspect of women.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed a black woman to be my therapist, to kind of help me offset some of the things that I was thinking, like help me understand if my mode of thinking was correct.
Right.
Or help me understand a better way to approach a lot of situations that I may be blind to. And that's kind of how I kind of picked my therapist.
Right. And then also because, again, me personally, I didn't want a therapist that was necessarily faith-based. Because when you hear about people going to counseling, it's usually by a pastor, someone in the church. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because do what you want. Right. However, me personally, I didn't want strictly faith-based therapy. I wanted real, nitty gritty, today's society, 2020, whatever the year was.
Right. And to that point, and also not somebody in a church that I currently go to who already kind of knows me.
Especially if they're not really licensed. They're just saying, hey, because I am a leader in this church and people think I have a good marriage.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Then I should be okay to also talk.
People feel like I got it figured out. So I'm the resident therapist at the church. I don't have any licenses. I haven't went to got any training in that, but I just kind of do it every Thursday. I'm not saying they can't help you. I'm just saying that they may not be fully equipped.
Right.
That's the best
way
to say
and then I don't want to say that it would be one-sided, but because they feel like they have a good handle on what makes a good relationship, that's just their relationship.
Right.
That's not what you may be going through. There may be different backgrounds, different other issues that you need to work out, and they're not necessarily trained in that.
Right.
So, and then also, we tell people this all the time, marriage counseling is cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
But I feel that before you do marriage counseling, and even then, if you do this, you may not even need it. Have your own individual therapist.
Right.
Because you can't try to work out issues with someone else, especially if you don't have your own issues worked out.
Right. But that's what I was just, to that point, what I was going to say, it's kind of hard to go through a couples thing when you're going through something internally yourself that you are also battling through.
And you may not even realize you are.
And yes, yeah, you may not know it, and then you maybe kind of get to something through the couples counseling, and then you may say it and be like, okay, it's not really about you, it's about the couple. And then, but the thing that's really holding the couple back is your thing that they don't really want to talk about.
And it's funny, you know how in like TV shows, whenever people would try to go to couples therapy, it almost always ended up as, oh, maybe I need to see a therapist myself.
Right.
Because I have these other issues to work out.
But, and to that point too, I know a lot of people avoid marriage counseling because they feel like the therapist picks sides.
Right. Especially if it is like a pastor or a church type situation. Yeah. Because I've gone through couples counseling with, you know, a member of the clergy, whatever.
Right.
And I feel like it was more so of what does the Bible say versus what is going on in today and, you know, what is really relevant.
That makes sense.
So but again, if that's what you're looking for, then by all means, go ahead.
But if that's your turkey, then jive it.
What?
Yeah.
I need you to run that back. If that's what?
If that's your turkey, jive it.
How old are you? You know what? Anyways, so definitely think about the type of therapist that you may want to try to hire, I guess.
Right.
Because go ahead.
Or to say also, or a behavioral therapist.
Yeah, there's different kinds. So figure out what do you want to go to the therapist for?
Right, because I was going to say, as to the behavioral therapist point, was one of the things that I really struggled with, as y'all probably heard me say before, was, you know, suicidal ideation. Mm-hmm. And that's something that a lot of people don't really discuss because they just don't want people to think that they're crazy.
Right.
But it's okay to talk to somebody.
Of course.
So that's why find you somebody that specializes in something like that to kind of help you work through some of the things you feel. And don't just sit and just go through it or drink through it or do drugs through it. I know it kind of helps you kind of feels like, but you know, kind of help get you through, you know, something different.
Right. Definitely don't just call the first person up that I was going to say find in the Yellow Pages. Ooh, I just dated myself.
Yeah, you did.
How old are you? The first person that you Google. But definitely try to do some research because the one thing you don't want to do is get the wrong therapist. But one question is, how do you even find a therapist? So there's a lot of different ways you can find a therapist. Kind of like if you're finding a doctor or someone to fix your air conditioning, whatever. But you could do a Google search. You know, as far as therapists, there's Talkspace.
Oh yeah,
which is
a lot
kind of like a subscription type program service or whatever, and it's all virtual. But a lot of therapists are also doing virtual visits too, so you don't necessarily have to be in.
Or or if you feel like that, you know, I know that Talkspace do like just an audio version, and also they have something.
They have like tiers.
Yeah, and then you can do like a video call where if you feel like that you feel better just speaking to a person face to face, or if you just want to just I ain't gonna say blind like talk to somebody, but if that's your jam,
if it's a dire situation and you're just like,
and you just I just need to talk to somebody and work some things out, then that's good as well.
Right, and then also with Talkspace, like I said, it is like tiered, and I believe it's 24 hours. Don't quote me on that.
Oh yeah,
I believe the hours are more extended because you know you may be talking to a therapist from another part of the country.
Yeah, you just never know.
So yeah, Talkspace is one. We've said it before here on the show, but with your actual, you know, employer, see if they offer an EAP, Employee Assistance Program,
right? Or
there may be some, you know, another acronym for it, but pretty much the same thing, where they try to help locate you with other therapists or provide medical providers and things like that.
Right.
So definitely.
And usually they give you a couple of them things for free, so you ain't got to come out of pocket.
You may come out of like 3 free sessions, and then depending on your company, you could get the 3 free sessions depending on what you're going for the issue. So let's say if you want to see someone for marital issues, then you get 3 sessions for that. If you want to see a therapist because of personal issues, just you by yourself, then you may get 3 for that as well. So definitely, if that's a benefit that your company provides, definitely take advantage of it, because then you kind of get to try a therapist and it's free and you don't have to worry about paying for it.
And I was going to say to that point, like if you find one that the first one, you don't like them, the next one, you can just use the next one just to go find a different one and see if you like that one instead. So you don't have to just be committed to one just because that's the first one that you went to.
Right. And then also, you know, we're big on Facebook, but, you know, social media, you can do a search like in Facebook groups.
Right.
Also, like Therapy for Black Girls. That's a website. Now, definitely, you don't have to be a Black girl, but especially for people of color. If you want to look for a therapist, there's that's an example of a site where you can find a therapist in your local area. And again, just a Google search. But and then you can also call your medical insurance providers,
right, if you have that,
and they'll be able to at least because the first time I tried to find a therapist, that's who I called my healthcare insurance provider. And they asked me certain questions like, okay, are you looking for a female, a male? You want them to be within like 5 miles of your home or 5 miles of your work? And they can narrow it down, filter through the results to find some people.
Yeah, when you go over and talk to Dr. Nick?
No, not Dr. Nick. I mean, you can do, again, do your research, read up on their credentials.
Yes.
See their picture. And be able to decide if this is someone you would maybe feel comfortable with.
And basically go through their credentials, go through the things that they do. Don't just pick one just at random, because some do specialize in certain things. So you don't want to make sure, you don't want to go to one that's about, that you're depressed about being obese. I just say that. Don't know why. But, and you need to see someone about, I don't know, parent issues or whatever, and they may not be equipped to handle that. So just saying, make sure you do the legwork as well. Don't just, blindly go see somebody.
Of course. So let's say you found your therapist.
Oh yeah, I found that boy.
What do you do next? So the first thing I will say is, now there are different therapists work a few different ways. I've had a few.
Yeah.
Some will make you do this extensive survey questionnaire about how you feel about certain scenarios, or on a scale of 1 to 10, have you ever thought of this? Some will just jump right in it. Some they'll ask you, questions about your background. So just be prepared for whatever that certain therapist.
Right. And then some, they do certain methods, and then they'll ask you to take certain items home, to do them at home, to think about
homework.
They may ask you to write certain things, that happen throughout your, the week, depending on your visit schedule.
Try to recall certain memories, maybe.
Right.
Things like that. But the one thing that I will say is, you're there for a reason. So when you're in that room with your therapist, be honest.
Yeah.
The one thing you need to do is be honest.
It don't work if you don't be honest.
And I used to be like, well, I don't want to be too honest, but how am I going to get the results or get the help that I need if I'm not 100% honest? There would be some stuff that I would say to my therapist, and I'd be like, she's going to think I'm crazy. And then she would let me know, no, girl, you're not crazy.
Yeah.
I can understand how you felt that way. You're okay feeling that way. So definitely be honest. And then the number 2 rule I would say is just do the work. That's where a lot of people, I feel like they may try therapy and then they stop. You have to do the work.
And I'll say that too. And I'm gonna go to your back and then forward, right? Like one of my therapists that I've had a few, that I realized after the fact, after I started going, and even toward the end of my sessions with her, I was like, yo, I didn't tell her the complete honest truth. Mm-hmm. Like, I just said what I wanted to say because I felt like, even after the fact, I was like, you know what? I really didn't tell that right. I didn't say it right. And then, so I never felt like that I put in, like you said, the work. Mm-hmm. I wasn't honest, and I didn't put in the work. So I just didn't really feel like I got anything out of it. And I feel like she knew it too.
I was going to say, a lot of them can call bullshit.
But she never pushed me on it. She never called me on it. So that made me feel like, well, I mean, if she ain't going to say nothing, then shit, that means she already, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, when you go be honest, also do the work that follow up on being honest.
Yes, you have to. And then just as important, the third rule I would say is just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, literally keep going. And it's funny, like, for example, watching like a show like Insecure, where Molly ended up having to go to the therapist. Yeah. And at first she was like, girl, I ain't going to therapy. I ain't crazy. I'm not doing this. And then she went once, and then she was like, I'm not going to go no more. And then she realized, okay, I really do need to go back.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep going. Now, granted, depending on, and another part of finding your therapist is also making sure you can afford it.
Yes.
If it's that, I mean, it would be nice if you could afford it, because that way you can keep going. But it's just, when you keep going and you keep showing up, because every session isn't going to be the same.
Yeah.
You can't expect to go to a therapist one time and they fix your entire life.
Yeah, because I will say this. I'll just kind of put myself out there a little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
Like one of the things that, when I say do the work, right? One of the things my therapist challenged me the most on is me saying that I don't have anybody. Like nobody is there for me. Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay, but do you reach out to them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you expecting something, that are you expecting something that's not tangible?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was like, look, you kind of, you're saying nobody's there, but you also are not present.
Right.
So, I'm just saying, like, and once I realized, I was like, damn, I did kind of inadvertently remove myself from everybody. And now I got to a point to where I didn't know how to bring myself back.
Yeah.
And so she kind of helped me figure out a plan, to figure out a way to kind of work myself to where I feel like I'm back integrated because I isolated myself.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. So sometimes like she kind of challenged me and pushed me.
Yes.
Like it wasn't uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, but it was a good uncomfortable. It didn't make me like, retreat or lash out.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
It makes you think. Cause like my big issue was that I felt like I wasn't important or people didn't care about me enough. So whenever people did want something from me, I didn't know how to say no.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be like, I wanted to be like, hey, look, I am worthy. I am good. And she had to teach me boundaries. Why would you continue letting someone treat you like this? If you don't like it, why don't you say so? You have every right to say so.
Yeah.
So it's, at first I was like, no, but I don't want to tell people no just because I don't want to. That's selfish. No, that's self-care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's definitely worth it, but you have to keep going. You know how they say practice makes perfect? You have to keep going because in life, at the ripe old age of 37, life changes all the time. Life is lifing right now.
Yeah.
And you can't expect to go to 1 or 2 sessions and have your whole freaking life figured out because something else is going to happen. You're going to get triggered by something else and you're not going to necessarily know how to cope. Yeah. After just going to two therapy sessions.
And that's why I will say, man, like therapy sessions. Like I can see the bullshit coming.
I can see it
and I kind of laugh at it from way over there across the room, and now I can avoid it. I can make sure.
And I laugh at how I probably would have reacted if I wasn't.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So once you get to a point and you do that work, like a lot of little shit in your life, and the people that always constantly just at your neck, calling you on your phone, texting you with the dumb shit, eventually you're gonna be like, bro, you gonna have to do something else with that.
Set your boundaries. Yeah. You have to set your boundaries. I'm not here for that. Now, what if you are going to a therapist and it just isn't working out? You're just like, you know what? I gave him. I'm really trying, and I just don't think it. I'll say this. I found one therapist where he was an older gentleman, and he was Black. And my first 3 sessions, because I had my employee assistance program, my first 3 ones or whatever, they were amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is right next to my job. I can get off work or come on my lunch break and come see him. I'm really starting to see some change and feel good about myself because I went for depression. And as soon as those three free sessions were done, it went straight to Bible study. It wasn't even necessarily, I'm going to tell you this story about Job and how it applies to you. No, it was
about that bush that was burning, right?
Bible study. We didn't even talk about me anymore for like 3 more sessions after that. And no shade to those that want a faith-based therapist. That is not what I was there for. And that is not what my first 3 sessions were for. So I had to fire my therapist. And at first I was like, well, I feel like I'm obligated to come. We talking about Jesus. So how am I going to fire a man telling me about Jesus? But no, if you're not getting what you need out of it, and if therapy is becoming a chore. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's not always fun.
Yeah.
But if it's becoming more of like, I have a disdain for going to therapy, then you should definitely switch therapists.
I'm not going to lie, man. Like, I almost got in a fist fight with my first therapist. Like real shit. Like my first therapist was a man. That's how I realized that I can't have a man as a therapist. I was gonna fight that nigga. Like, you know, the first session, it was kind of cool. You know, we was like kind of hit it off or whatever. But then the second session, I was like, wait a minute, man. I'm asking this cat things and he's responding like I respond. And I was like, that's not, you know.
I know that ain't right.
And then it was something else, man. Like right after this, like in my third session at the very top, he asked me something. He was like something real slick. And he replied back, you know, he was like, yeah, you the common denominator, everything, you know, you the problem, you the reason everything going bad. I'm not gonna lie, man. He was partially right, but at that point in time, it just didn't sit right because I wasn't fully ready to hear it that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I challenged him on that. And then next thing you know, we squared up in the office. And I was like, say, man, like, I'm just going to bounce. And then he charged me. And then, man, we had to report that cat, dude. Man, I'm just saying, man, not everybody going to work out for you, man.
No. So it is okay to fire your therapist. And it happens to them all the time. Therapists are used to people ghosting them all the time. Think about it. In a profession like that, I mean, just like doctors, you may be like, oh, you got to get this taken care of. And then 6 months later, you never got to take care of. Yeah. So I know therapists are used to it all the time. But the beauty of it is, all they care about is that you're okay. Even if you find another therapist that works out better than they did, they're like, as long as you're getting the help that you need.
I will say that, man, like my current therapist, like, you know, now I'm in a point of maintenance.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about the schedule.
We'll get to that here in a moment. But, you know, if I go too long and she don't hear from me, she'll reach out. She'll text me. She'll be like, hey,
still around?
I ain't heard from you in a minute. I just want to make sure everything cool. Just let me know. And, you know, if I don't text back, she'll email, she'll call.
I said.
And then she'll be like, hey, I just want to know, like, hey, because I've been to, you know, when I first started going to therapy, I was in the lowest of the low. Mm-hmm. And so she's trying to make sure that I'm not dipping. I'm not dipping. So.
Yeah. No, but, and that's something else as far as like when it goes to therapy. Most people think, oh, when you go to therapy, you just have to go every week. That's not necessarily true. No, I will say I waited until I was at my lowest of the low. So I started off with Tuesday, Thursdays.
Yeah.
And then because once you keep going, once you keep doing the work and you'll see the work and the change happening in yourself, I went from Tuesday, Thursdays to Thursdays.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it's like, okay. And what I like is even I may be thinking it like, well, you know what? I don't think I necessarily have to come every week anymore.
Yeah.
My therapist will say, okay, how about we do bi-weekly?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, I think that'd be perfect. You know, I don't have to come every week. I can come every other week. And then it went to monthly. And then shortly after that, it was pretty much on an as needed basis.
Yeah.
And what I love about maintenance is, a lot of times when I do happen to randomly set an appointment months later, it's almost like a catch-up session. Yeah. So how I've been doing. Now, there may have been a reason that I have called and set the appointment. And a lot of times it'll be because maybe there's like literally a culmination of different things hitting me at one time. Usually if it's like 1 or 2 issues, I can kind of manage, use my coping skills and stuff. But sometimes when it's just a bunch of stuff happening at one time and Mercury wants to be drinking Gatorade, then it becomes a little too much. But then I also find that the longer that I've been in maintenance, by the time I set that appointment and see my therapist, I'll have kind of already worked it out.
Yeah, it kind of worked
itself. And I'll just be like, so girl, this is what happened. This is what I did. Well, this is what happened. This is why I called you, but this is what I did. And this is how I feel now. And this is what's going on. And usually she'll be like, yeah, you did good. It's almost like that validation. Like, okay, I'm good. Sometimes she still has to help me though.
Yeah.
I'm a working
See, and like you, like when I first started going, you know, to my regular therapist now, you know, I was going a twice a week kind of cat. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and it was to the point to where for me, you know, she was questioning if I needed to be like committed. You know, like if I needed around the clock, like type care. So like she was like in between my sessions, she used to just call. She was like, yo, how are you? And I would just like bust out in tears, like, yo, I don't know.
Listen.
Like, hey, I don't know. She was like, okay, just listen, calm down. She was like, look, I got a few minutes if you just want to talk. And I just be like, yo, like I'm just like in the shit. Like I don't know. And she would kind of talk me through, kind of help me figure out what it is in that moment. You know, and then it got to a point, like you said, you know, and I started going, once I actually sat and she challenged me to do the actual work, like I said.
Do the work.
And then, and I started seeing that progress. She started seeing that progress. And I can't tell you how often, like now that I'm in maintenance and she just, see me or she texts me and she be like, yo, I'm proud of you. Like considering like worried how low you were when you first walked in. She was like, I honestly tell you, she was like, I didn't know if you would honestly make it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just proud to see that you're doing it. And, and just to say that, like, to find you somebody that's actually going to care about you more than just that check that's going to come in.
Right. And I don't know, it's like a different type of proud when your therapist is like, girl, I'm proud of you because they've seen you, you know what I mean? So that also, and we almost missed this, but some things that you don't hear about therapy that people say all the time.
Sure.
So the one thing is therapy sessions can be draining.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're forced to confront and talk about things that you maybe have not even said out loud. Yeah. It's different when you say it out loud to someone.
It's a lot of things that you think that you never really thought that you would really say out loud.
Or again, you didn't think it would ever come out of you would ever verbalize it.
To another person.
To another person, especially a person that doesn't know you like that.
Yeah.
And then the raw emotions that come out of that. So it can be, after therapy sessions, I used to be like, okay, I need to relax. I need to take a bath. I may take myself out to eat. Like I would have to do something because sometimes for a while, I would have to take a nap after therapy. Yeah. I had to because my entire body, there's something about, of course, when you're physically labored and you're tired, but there's something about that emotional tired.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is a whole different beast. So I used to have to take a nap after therapy.
Yeah. I used to just take the hour after therapy, just drive, get in my car and I would just drive, just get on the road and just hit the block.
Your brain is still moving.
And then, once my brain, like you said, my brain kind of slowed down, I would go home and I would go to sleep.
Yeah, because
then I wake up and I'd be like, okay, now what the fuck?
Well, it's funny because I used to schedule my therapy sessions because my therapist was really close to the job. Yeah. So I used to try to schedule some during the lunch hour. No, because as soon as lunch was over and I would try to go back to work, my brain was still moving. And I was like, nah. So I had to be like, look, I have to leave at 3:00 today to go to therapy because I cannot come back to this place and deal with this.
Yeah, I used to try to get them, like you said, I used to try to get the ones before work and then do all that and then go straight to work. Day. I just sit in my office like.
Your whole life is just flashing before your eyes.
Bruh. Yeah. And they're like, hey, somebody just turned the lights off. I'm not crying. I'm just, I'm going to go, I'm going to smoke. Right. I'm going to the car.
And then another thing, you're not necessarily going to cry in every session. Yeah. But when you cry, you cry. When you cry, you cry. And I'm the type of person that I don't necessarily like people seeing me cry. I'm not saying that I'm ashamed to cry, but I just don't like people seeing me cry. Yeah. My therapist has seen me ugly cry. And that's okay. That is okay. It's actually a good thing. Yeah. It's funny because I used to be embarrassed when I would cry in therapy. And now I just be like, Because you feel so much better because it's okay to cry.
And then you go take a nap.
In society, they're like, oh, you don't need to cry. That means you're a wimp. That means you're a punk, blah, 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 blah. No, you go ahead and get it out. And then you've gotten that out. You've cried. Okay, now let's put in some work. What are we going to do? Yeah. So it's almost necessary. And another thing that people don't tell you, you're going to get mad at your therapist.
Yeah, boy. You don't want to hear them hard truths sometimes.
The hard truths.
Especially when you figure out that, damn, I was the one really at fault.
It was me.
Damn.
You in the kitchen with the knife.
You weren't supposed to say that.
Right. But at the same time, I'm the type of person, I hated getting criticism or being told that what I said or what I did was wrong. I didn't like being challenged. Yeah. Because I felt like I'm the type of person, I do a lot of research. I like to pay attention to what's going on, and I make the best decision based off of all this information. Right. And so you can't tell me I'm wrong because I did too much work to know that I'm right. But when my therapist challenges me on certain situations, and I'll be like,
I didn't think about it like that.
Now, in the session, I'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, she lying, whatever. And then I'll go home and be like, you know what?
Nah.
She is right.
I tell her, I'll be like, I mean, I'll be like, I didn't think about it like that.
I mean, if you're gonna put it like that.
I mean, since you said it like that, I didn't really. And then I'll be like, I'm such a boob.
Not a boob.
Boob.
But yeah,
because it's been times where, like I said, like she done, we done talked about some shit and she done said it, and I was like, I totally misread that situation.
Yeah.
Like I replied, in a way that I just didn't know.
Yeah. But it's good because you have that perspective of someone, especially because if you're being honest, they know your therapist really knows more about you than most people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the inner workings of your mind. So if they're going to challenge you, and that's a good thing because we're not all right all the time.
Right.
As much as I want to be, we're not all right all the time. So. But yeah, so
but and to that point, like you said, like you don't have to tell anybody that you go.
You don't. That is all your business.
Like, don't be afraid to go because of what people are going to say about you. Understand that nobody has to know that you go.
People, and even if you do decide, because we're to the point where we don't care. We'll tell people.
I'll tell you.
And it's funny because people don't really necessarily criticize us when we talk about it. But I know if it were anybody else or any other situation, you don't want to see a therapist. I mean,
why you want to do that? You just waste your money.
Why you your business? But you're gonna tell your business to your friends who are doing just as bad, if not worse, as you, and they can't, or they have not been to where you're trying to go, or can't even think that way.
And most people just put it on Facebook anyway. So I mean, why even put yourself out there for people to judge when you don't really have to tell them?
When you can get a licensed professional
to help you, guide you,
like
do it the right way.
Their whole purpose and their occupation is to help you. It does not benefit them if they don't help you.
Right.
So my thing is, people are going to say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, your mental health is your responsibility. If you're able to do something about it, then try to do something about it.
Right.
So yeah. So those are just some personal accounts, personal tips that we have. Right. We are not licensed medical professionals.
Definitely not licensed.
This is merely just the opinions of Jan.
It's just the musings of Jan.
For entertainment purposes. And I mean, if you want to listen to what we got to say, then that's on you. But yeah, so Mental Health Month.
That's right.
What have you done for your mental health this week?
Man, I've started taking more naps. I'm taking more naps.
When did you take a nap? At work?
I can't tell you that. This G4 thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the naps have helped you?
Yeah, boy.
Okay.
Gotta refresh myself.
Okay.
What about you?
Speaking of what I said earlier, this week I have decided not to go or participate in events where people would be like, oh, but you just have to go because you just have to go. I had to choose myself. So I said no. I said no because the event would be a highly stressful and a highly emotional situation. This week has already been one hell of a week, and I'm not going to end my week that way. So
well, good for you.
I said no. I chose me.
Choose yourself.
Effie, what about me?
Yeah, what about you?
So yeah, I chose me this week.
So do you have any petty service announcement?
Of course I do.
Talk to me.
I feel like we need to normalize being able to say, hey, if your friend's like, hey girl, how you doing, girl? I've had a terrible day. I've had a terrible week, or I'm just depressed, and not having to necessarily go into details. I feel like we shouldn't be forced to say, I'm fine, and you're not fine. It's okay to say you're not fine. Yes. But it's also okay to say that you don't want to talk about it either.
That's true.
Because I feel like if you set that expectation like, yeah, I'm not having that great of a day, then maybe you won't come at me with no bullshit. Because you know I'm already having a bad day.
Or ask me for money.
Or ask me anything other than are you okay? Too. So I feel like we should be able to normalize being able to express that we're having a bad day or we're not mentally, we're not at our best.
Yeah.
And it'd be okay without having a whole circus of conversation and details that I don't want to go into.
Okay.
And then also, it is hot as hell outside. So it is time out for wigs. Get you some locks or some braids, girls, because it's hot as hell.
I was going to say real quick that Daddy Payne didn't come to town because they canceled the concert.
The concert was not canceled. It was rescheduled.
Hey, was it yesterday?
It's on a Friday.
Was it yesterday, though?
God,
I'm just saying, was it yesterday?
What was yesterday?
Wednesday.
Yes, it was supposed to be last
night. Okay, but
night,
did they have it?
It was rescheduled. It wasn't canceled. It was rescheduled. Canceled is, we ain't having it. Rescheduled
they didn't have it yesterday,
we having it. It just ain't going to be today.
Canceled it.
But they canceled or rescheduled so close to the show, though.
They canceled Christmas on the show.
But that's okay. We got another month. And it's on a Friday, so I ain't got to use PTO the next day.
Oh, that's true.
Hallelujah. So, yeah.
That's it, man.
That's all we have for y'all.
So tell them where they can find us at.
You can find us at www.jandhater.com. You can also find us on Instagram at the Jay and Hater Podcast.
That's right. Or
individually, you can find me at Jay Duce.
You can find your boy always at Lord Hater.
And then you can find us on Facebook because we're Facebook Uncle and Auntie.
That's right.
But other than that,
you can email us too, man.
Yes,
email us, man.
Email us at jandhater@gmail.com.
That's right.
Yeah, anything else?
That's all I got, baby. Appreciate y'all. Always. Yeah. Always. I ain't told you in a minute. It's my bad, but I do always appreciate y'all.
Always appreciate you guys. Also, check us out on YouTube. We're going to have some videos posted up on YouTube. Too. We're going to be doing some more review videos and things like that. But again, like we always like to end every episode, if you don't do anything else, always protect your peace. Bye, guys.